And we're back.
So,
We are. What week are we on here? Week nine. Week
Yeah.
9. All right. We'll start
I'm
with.
getting sad. It's getting kind of late. The
Getting
season's
late in the
almost
season,
over.
but it's starting to get really good
It
out
is.
there.
It is.
All right. So Thursday night, Utah knocked off Washington State 21-17. You watch any of this one?
No, it started at 10 o'clock, and I watched the Virginia Tech NC State game, and then had to go to bed, got to work the next day. But my boss, big Utah fan, he's a ticket holder to Utah. He was watching. He said that they won. It was not super impressive. They lost a couple of the starters on offense to injuries, so it could have been much of an easier win for him. But he was pretty bummed. It looks like those guys are out for a while.
So, anyway, they won 21-17. NC State knocked off Virginia Tech 22-21.
They came back 21-3. Yeah. They came back to win that game.
Yeah. Hey. We'll start with Georgia, Florida. I was at the game. Well, I was tailgating at the game. I didn't actually win. But Georgia knocks off Florida 42-20. Pretty convincing performance. Kind of gave Florida hope there a little bit early in the second half. But all in all, dominant win.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia was completely dominant in the first half, offensively and defensively. Late in the second quarter, Florida had a nice little drive there to get a field goal, but Georgia basically had their number offensive and defensively the whole first half. Second half, third quarter, really. Couple of turnovers led to 10 Florida points. They got the ball first after the half and drove down and scored a touchdown. Couple of missed tackles and a costly 15-yard roughing the passer penalty. As Kirby was calling a timeout, well, referees blow the whistle, blow the play dead. Anthony Richardson turns around to hand the ball to referee, and Georgia's defensive line drills him. 15 yards. It was like 3rd and 8, something like that. First down. So basically, Georgia played a great game with the exception of like a 10-minute span of the third quarter. Right. They got to clean that up for next week.
Definitely.
Looked pretty good doing it.
And we'll talk about that a little later on. Ohio State knocked off Penn State 44-31.
Looked like I watched this game. Looked like it was going to be a good game, and it was all the way till the fourth quarter. And then Ohio State was like, "All right, let's quit toying with them." It was kind of like a cat with like a basically an almost dead mouse, kind of messing with it, and then eventually just tears it apart. That's kind of how it was with this game. A lot of mistakes for Penn State early, but they came back and made a run of it, and took the lead for a little bit. And then they just didn't have the
horses.
Yeah, they have the horses, the momentum, whatever you want to call it. Dude, for Ohio State had a huge game defensively, and they basically had like a 21-point swing in like 4 minutes. I think they scored 4 touchdowns in a 6-minute span.
Yeah. Well, that's indicative score 44-31.
Yeah, this is a ranked opponent they're playing. Right. On the road, hostile environment, great atmosphere in Happy Valley. It was a whiteout. Much cooler at night. Yeah. I know that. I know a dude that's an Ohio State fan that's like, this is why you play these games at noon. I'm like, yeah, you can't see the field because the freaking sun's so bright.
Right. This whole game might be completely different at night.
Oh, most definitely. And Penn State was in this. They didn't run the ball Ohio State didn't run the ball very well. Both lines of scrimmage, offensive and defensively, I didn't think they were as dominant as I've seen them in the past. Kind of remind me of last year, looking ahead maybe to the Michigan game. But Ohio State just asserted their will when they needed to. They, like I said, enough playing around, let's take it to them, and they did. So I got to give them credit.
That's right. Tennessee knocked off Kentucky 44-6. You were talking about this here a minute ago.
Yeah, Kentucky moved the football, and then turnovers in the red zone. You get down to Tennessee because you can't convert and score touchdowns. It's going to get out of hand quickly, and that's what this game was. Yeah. 27-6, end of the first half, game over. Yep. And that's basically what happened. Hendon Hooker looked pretty good. Hyatt was wide open again on so many passes, but they didn't put up the passing numbers that we saw them do against Alabama and some other teams so far this year. But that's what happens. You try to play your game against them offensively, and if you don't score touchdowns, lopsided real quick.
That's right. They move quick. They do everything fast, and it shows in the score. Michigan knocked off Michigan State. No surprise here, 29-7. Another dominant.
Nice fight after.
Carry on.
Video of the fights out there, so I'm sure some guys on Michigan State get suspended, but easy win for Michigan. It didn't look like it was at all in doubt at any point in time. But one thing I noticed watching this game, they kicked a lot of field goals. To get inside the red zone against teams like Ohio State, you got to put it in the end zone. can't kick field goals, and that's what they ended up doing. It didn't hurt them against Michigan State. Corum was able to score a TD late, in the, I think it was the fourth quarter, to really put it out of reach. But the game was never in doubt. They just weren't executing in the red zone, and they got to clean that up. Donovan Edwards, though, is definitely a threat out of the backfield catching the football. I was impressed by him yesterday doing that. Corum's a good running back, too.
The TCU knocked off West Virginia 41-31. You see any of this one?
Yeah, this is a fun game. I watched this game. I was kind of watching the Ohio State, but this one was a little more competitive, in my opinion. JT Daniels had a good game until the end. Really good game for TCU. They need to come back and win. They were down a little bit. Back and forth kind of game. West Virginia was down a good bit in the beginning, and then they made a run back. Both QBs were throwing dimes. Wide receivers were making great plays. Just a fun game to watch. TCU was firm in control of the Big 12, especially with Oklahoma State going down again like they did.
Embarrassing loss.
Yes, good Lord. But TCU, I think in order to make the playoffs, they got to go undefeated and win the whole thing in the conference. But they're in driver's seat right now.
Oregon knocked off California, 42-24. Oregon continues to win, 7-1 out there in Pac-12.
Looking really good doing it. Didn't watch any of this game, but I didn't think it was going to be much of a problem for them to win this game.
And what we were talking about earlier, Oklahoma State, Kansas State. I saw this go across the screen during the game, I think, and I was just like, what happened there? 48-0.
I tuned in. It was just before the end of the half, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I was like, come on, Oklahoma State. You're always going to lose that one game, at least one game a year, that you shouldn't. And I really thought they were going to bounce back and make a run and maybe go at TCU again in the Big 12 championship game. And they just literally laid a goose egg in every way you can imagine. They were terrible. And Kansas State with a backup QB just took it to them. Deuce Vaughn looked great. Kansas State's kind of got the market corner on those real small, muscular running backs. Deuce Vaughn's the latest in the long line there, but Kansas State looks good, and look at them. They're 6-2, 4-1 in the conference. Maybe they're going to be playing TCU for the conference championship game. You never know.
Yeah, spin that wheel.
Yeah.
Wake Forest knocked off Louisville. Louisville knocked off Wake Forest 48-21. They go to 6-2 now, so things are not looking as good as for them as it was a week ago.
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of this game, disappointed because I want the teams that aren't historically powerhouses, that are using NIL to get some top recruits. I want to see these teams lose because I think NIL. I don't like NIL. Louisville's one of those teams, and I want them to lose. Satterfield was on the hot seat early this season. They got a lot of top recruits that other teams looking to poach if he was to get canned. And they go up against number 10 team in the country that can put up a boatload of points through the air with Hartman at QB, and they just dismantle them. 6 turnovers in the third quarter for Wake Forest, 8 turnovers in the second half alone. As you can see by the score, the first half was pretty damn close, 14-13, and then all those turnovers. Look at that, 35 points in the third quarter off 6 Wake Forest turnovers.
That's horrible. Moving right along, USC knocked off Arizona 45-37. Did you get to see any of this?
No, but that was way closer score than I thought it was. I was watching the score on the bottom. I wasn't watching this game. Yeah. I kind of thought USC would have a little bit more in hand. They're right in the thick of things in the Pac-12 with that 5-1 conference record. Pac-12 and Big 12 this year are a lot of fun to watch. They're wide open, but I really don't know who's going to make the playoffs from those two conferences because even the conference winner you'd think they'd get in, but if all these teams in the Pac-12 have one loss, they might be out on the outside looking in. If 2 SEC teams get in.
Well, that Oregon loss to Georgia might be looming largely.
Yes, I mean, we'll talk about the playoffs in a little bit, but Pac-12 is wide open. If you're not watching these games, you're missing out because it's a lot of fun.
UCLA knocked off Stanford 38-13.
Way to go fighting UCLA Bruins knocking off Stanford. Stanford looks like hot garbage, and I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah, well, UCLA goes to 7-1. They're nothing that does undefeated teams out in the Pac-12. Ole Miss knocked off Texas A&M barely, 31-28.
Another big NIL team goes down. A&M looks like crap. They've got a little bit of momentum putting in the true freshman QB. He's okay. I'm not really seeing anything like ridiculously impressive from him, but he's a true freshman coming in the middle of the season. Evan Stewart's awesome, elite wideout. He'll be a 3-and-done guy. But they just don't look. I mean, you can move the football on him pretty well. You can play defense on him. It's not that hard to, other than Evan Stewart and maybe giving it to A-Chain a little bit, it's not really hard to stop him. So it was a lot. I watched this game last night. It was more entertaining to see A&M go down than to see Tennessee beat the crap out of Kentucky. Had I not disliked A&M, I probably would watch the Tennessee game, but I was enjoying watching A&M lose again, and they made it close late, but the score wasn't really as close as it should have been.
Well, here's the Syracuse Notre Dame game. Is this an instance where they lost to Clemson twice, 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah, kind of. Although Notre Dame looks a lot improved, much improved. I watched this game yesterday. Had it on one of the TVs, and Notre Dame was looking good. They were running the ball all over Syracuse, which Clemson really. I know Shipley had a career day against Syracuse, but a lot of that yardage was on one long run.
Right.
They didn't really run the ball too well in Syracuse, and Notre Dame just ran up and down the field on them. Well, it wasn't pretty. Like there was nothing they could do. It was kind of demoralizing for them.
Well, Notre Dame knocked off Syracuse.
And
41,
Notre Dame plays Clemson next week.
Oh,
or this coming week.
Yeah. Moving right along, Illinois goes to 7-1, knocking off Nebraska 26-9.
1 win away from clinching the Big Ten West. They got to beat Purdue. I was watching this game a little bit. Illinois has become one of my favorite teams, mainly because of Jerry, my brother-in-law, big Illinois guy. And I just like watching it because I know he's so excited about it. And they look good. I mean, they were down for just a little bit in Nebraska. Didn't look so good. QB got sacked, but then they kind of right the ship a little bit. Pick 6 by, I think it's Brown, on linebacker. And his twin brothers are running back, and he ran for like a crap ton of yards, kept feeding them, had a nice receiving touchdown. They look good. The flying Brett Bielema they're looking good. I got to give Illinois credit. I'm really excited about them. The Big Ten West is kind of crappy. But Illinois, look, I got them credit. They're 7-1. And they lost to Indiana. And Indiana's not any good, so that was maybe like a fluke. They got to beat Purdue. And we all know that Purdue, at some point in the season, they're going to be the killer of dreams. If you knock off Purdue, I think in 2 weeks, you're the Big Ten West champion. And you're going to go face either Ohio State or Michigan in Indy. And if that happens, we're going. We said it here last week, we're all going. So I'm pulling for Illinois.
Road trip.
Yes.
Cincinnati against UCF. UCF knocked off Cincinnati 25-21. I don't know.
I watched a little bit of this game, then saw the highlights this morning. UCF is not a good football team. So I don't know how this happened. I'm kind of surprised because I just assumed the Cincinnati was going to beat him by 2 touchdowns. But hey, give Malzahn's team credit. They give it to Bowser enough times, and he just ran it down the throat.
North Carolina knocked off Pitt 42-24. North Carolina 7-1.
Yeah, I'm surprised. It seems like they've lost more games because they give up so many points. But I got to give them credit. Look at the quarter breakdown. Defense clamped down when they needed to, and then they put a huge 21 spot on the board in the fourth quarter. Looked good doing it, running the football, passing the football. Surprisingly, they played good D the second half. Pittsburgh, they were ranked at the beginning of the year. Now they're 4-4, 1-3 in the ACC. The ACC champions from last year, they're 1-3
now. South Carolina, number 25th ranked team in the nation, lost to Missouri 23-10. They just finally got ranked again, and then they just decided to lose the game.
Congratulations. You spent 1 week in the top 25, and you let Missouri beat you.
Yep. Well, let's take a look at next week's slate of games, and then we'll go talk about the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We got Tuesday games this week. Starting November 1st, we got Ball State, Kent State, Buffalo, and Ohio. I'm not watching any of those games.
Well, I'll be playing hockey on Tuesday, but I might watch the end of that Ball State-Kent State game.
Wednesday, you got Central Michigan, Northern Illinois, Western Michigan, and Bowling Green. And you get an interesting matchup Thursday, Appalachian State against Coastal Carolina.
That'd be a pretty good game.
Yeah. That's always
I'm going to have to tune into that one Thursday night.
Yeah. And then Friday, we got Oregon State. Oregon State's ranked 25th. They're going against Washington.
And Washington's unranked. They were so good at the beginning of the year. Penix with a great passing attack. Yeah. He gets hurt, and they just haven't been the same.
Yeah. That's a 10:30 start, so that's going to be a late one on Friday night, Pac-12 after dark.
Look at that. Ohio State at Northwestern. The biggest challenge in this game for Ohio State is going to be the cold weather. One thing I noticed watching that Penn State-Ohio State game, and I wasn't the only one to notice this because some people were tweeting it. It was on one of the podcasts I listened to this morning. C.J. Stroud, great quarterback, in my opinion, the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. Probably should be, I don't think he will, but he should be the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft this coming April. Awesome player, arguably one of the best quarterbacks in Ohio State. And no, I'm not trying to butter up Ohio State. I'm trying to make a point that he's still a little confused when there's pressure. And has nothing negative about C.J. Stroud at all. They are so good, and they play in not the best conference. When he gets pressured, he kind of doesn't know how to handle it because he's not used to it.
Right.
So that happened last year against Michigan. It'll happen this year against Michigan, but it happened a little bit yesterday, and you could tell he was a little confused. Now they got it figured out, and he was okay, but if you can give him 4 quarters of sustained pressure, Ohio State might be in trouble. And it has nothing negative to do with Ohio State. It's more about the level of competition they play, and it's not their fault. So I'm not trying to dog on Ohio State here. It's not their fault. They have to play in the Big Ten conference schedule and not really get tested until the last week of the season.
Right. So undefeated TCU takes on Texas Tech at noon. This could be a trap game there. They got
most of their games are at noon, so I'm not really sure if you could call it a trap because they're just used to playing at noon. But I get what you're saying, though.
It's early game. It's Texas Tech.
Yeah, and then the target's now on their back. Right. They're undefeated. Everyone's going to give them their A game. Yeah, you got a good point.
Yeah, you want to play that game at home. You can play that at night and not have any problems. You play that game at noon, things can get interesting real quick. North Carolina taking on Virginia. It's 7-1 North Carolina. I can't even believe we're saying that.
8-1 after next Saturday. Virginia's terrible.
Yeah. Tulane's number 19 playing Tulsa at noon. Yeah. Kentucky, Missouri at noon. Florida, Texas A&M. The battle between the losers.
Yeah. A&M's going to win that game. Florida's terrible.
Yeah, they're...
Look at that. Iowa at Purdue. So I don't know if Purdue loses. Does that mean Illinois clinches the division? I don't really know. But you know what? Let's go Iowa.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure Jerry will tell me.
Yeah. Baylor got against Oklahoma at 3.
Some of these games with 2 unranked teams always are some of the greatest games.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have anything to play for other than pride in each other. They're not going to go to some New Year's Six bowl game.
That's an in-conference game.
Yeah,
late
they're just
in November.
good games.
Yeah, they're going to be fighting for bragging rights. Here's the big one on the day. Well, there's a couple of interesting games on the day, but the first one, Georgia-Tennessee, 3:30. That's 1 versus 2 in Athens. We'll be there. Wish we could go live, but
maybe we will.
Who knows?
You never know. Our tailgate does have the capability to have Wi-Fi.
$538 for a ticket to this game right now. That's nuts. It was $600 earlier this week. So if you want to go,
I could have made some money selling my tickets, selling the 2 extra. It would have been me and you, and then selling the 2 extra. But Jerry's going with us, and I got my old college roommates flying in from Boston to spend the weekend. It's his first ever SEC game, and he picked a damn good one to go to.
Yes,
that place
is
going to be rocking. So I'm sure he's going to have a good time, win or lose.
Absolutely.
Doesn't really matter to him who wins or loses this game. It's just going to be enjoyable for him.
Oregon is going to take on Colorado at 3:30. So we're not going to be knowing anything about this other than until it pops up on the screen in the game.
But Sanford Stadium does a really good job of showing you the scores. And if there's a timeout, they'll put the game on the big screen, like Jumbotron thing.
Yeah. Illinois is taking on Michigan State at 3:30. Hopefully they can get this done and close this out.
That would be a tough game.
Yeah.
That'd be a real tough game.
It's at home at 3:30, so they're going to be up for that one.
Oh, yeah.
Penn State, Indiana, 3:30. Maybe they don't lose to Ohio State twice.
Or maybe.
Oklahoma State, maybe they can right the ship. I don't even know if they're deserving of this number 18th ranked right now.
No, they just need to be unranked.
Yeah. Syracuse has got Pittsburgh. Maybe they can right the ship. UCF.
UCF is ranked. Can they stay more than 1 week in the top 25? We'll see.
We'll find out. Let's see. What else we got going on here?
Liberty at Arkansas, which I believe is Petrino, the former coach, going back. No, it's not. That's Hugh Freeze. My bad. They did Petrino earlier, right?
You're right.
Or whatever his name is.
He made a game of it.
Yeah, I forget what his name is. But
it was like Western Missouri or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Alabama.
Night game. Alabama at LSU, 7 o'clock at night. And I know it's not the 3:30 CBS marquee game of the week. Ask any LSU fans, they'd rather have this game at night.
Yes.
Death Valley is ridiculous at night. That's going to be a hostile environment. Alabama can be had. LSU's looking good. They both had the bye week. Jermaine Burton's probably going to play, even though a video surfaced of him hitting yet 2 more women on the field at Neyland Stadium. So now it's a total of 3 women he punched in the face. I'm sure Saban still feels he was scared for his life, so he's going to let him play.
Yeah. Alabama LSU, 7 o'clock. This has ramifications if Alabama doesn't pull this off.
Yeah, I mean, look, the winner of this game is going to Atlanta. Let's face facts. The winner of this game is going to Atlanta. The winner of the Georgia-Tennessee game is going to Atlanta. They say it's for a chance to play in Atlanta. Look, seriously, neither one of these teams is going to lose after this. I know that Alabama still has Ole Miss. Alabama will beat them. I think LSU's about done with everybody that's good, with the exception of maybe Arkansas. Both of these games are going to decide the conference.
Right.
The divisions in the conference. Right. So huge ramifications in the SEC.
Texas taking on Kansas State, coming off that big win against Oklahoma State. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully they get up for Texas, but Texas has been playing good.
Look at that, another good night game. Clemson at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's been playing really well. That'd be a big game. I have no idea who I'm going to pick for that one. I'll have to wait.
Utah, Arizona, 7:30.
Auburn at Mississippi State, 7:30.
Let's see what else. Florida State.
Florida at the U. That used to be such a huge game, and now it's basically just 2 unranked teams. I mean, that'd be a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of night games. By the time we get home from Georgia, Tennessee, it'll be the second half of all of these games, but we'll be able to easily just flip back and forth and watch everything.
Right. Wake Forest taking on NC State, 8.
God, that's going to be abysmal. NC State's offense basically is... I know they won, they came back, and they played well, but I mean, a lot of those passes were kind of luck and good wide receiver play by NC State. Yeah. I don't see that happening twice. I don't see Wake Forest having an 8 turnover half. I see Wake Forest winning that game, but that could get ugly.
Yeah. UCLA takes on Arizona State. Another, just win in advance for UCLA. And California, or Cal's taking on USC at 10:30, and the same deal, win in advance. I think they match up at the end of the season. I think they got USC and UCLA play last.
Yes, they do. They play at the end of the year.
So that may determine.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
The Big 12 is going to take care of itself because they do a round robin. They play everybody. UCLA and USC are going to play at the end of the season. Utah and Oregon, if I'm not mistaken, play towards the end of the year. So a lot of that's going to get taken care of. Yeah. Utah's got a couple losses, but I think only one of them is in conference.
Right.
And so they're still alive. So the Big 12 is going to... The Big 12 and the Pac-12 are going to be decided closer towards the end of the year, where the SEC is going to be decided this weekend for the most part.
No.
But...
So we're going to talk about playoffs?
Yeah, let's go playoffs.
Okay.
Playoff committee is going to announce the first rankings this Tuesday, and I'm basically just going to kind of pick how I think they're going to go. It doesn't matter what my feelings are. I think they're going to put Tennessee number 1. They've got the best ranked win, in my opinion, against Alabama. Okay. They just beat a ranked Kentucky team. They beat a ranked Pitt team earlier in the season, and I know Pitt's not ranked. They're 4-4 now. That's not Tennessee's fault. Right. Okay, they played a ranked team, and they won on the road. So that's 3, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they beat somebody else, too. I think, was LSU ranked when they beat them? I don't know. I thought they had 4 ranked wins on their resume.
I think they were ranked. Yeah.
So they should be number 1. Right. That's what I think the committee is going to do. I think Georgia's going to be number 2. And then Ohio State 3. And they're probably going to put Michigan at 4.
I agree.
And Clemson fans are getting all up in arms, but really, Clemson, who have you beat? Yeah. You look what happened with the Syracuse game. It was they needed a couple of calls and then a couple of no calls just to win that game. Right. Syracuse got beat pretty bad by Notre Dame yesterday, and if the rankings were to come out the following week, well, we got Clemson Notre Dame this weekend. Right. So I know Notre Dame's not ranked, but that still would be a pretty good win, beating them on the road, and they're playing much better now. Right. So I think that's how it's going to go. Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same deal. I mean, it might be different order. Maybe Georgia maybe won in the city, thinking Tennessee's number one. But yeah,
But if you look at it though, right? So Tennessee 1, Georgia 2. They're going to play each other Saturday.
right.
Ohio State 3, Michigan 4. They're going to play each other at the end of the year. You basically have an elimination game possible for Alabama this Saturday. They win, they'll jump up obviously by beating a ranked LSU team. Number 1 or number 2 is getting deuced right out of it. So a lot of these teams are going to end up playing each other.
Yeah. I mean, loser of this game probably moves to 5.
Yeah, if you look at the top 10 right there. So Tennessee, Georgia, they're going to play each other.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Michigan will play each other. Yeah. Oregon and USC most likely will play each other if it comes down to it.
Yeah.
But USC and UCLA are going to play each other. Ole Miss still has to, at 11, still has to play Alabama.
Right.
So this is going to shake out really well for some of the teams in the 10 to 12 realm.
Yes.
Some of these teams get knocked off with the possibility of getting knocked off a second time.
Right. Well, so Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio State, Michigan, those 4 teams play each other.
Yes.
Different.
And what sucks worse, I think the loser of the Georgia Tennessee game's out completely because they're not even going to make the conference championship game. All right. Michigan versus Ohio State, that's the last game of the year. The loser of that game, that's the worst time, obviously, to lose the game. The last game of the year. You lose week 4, you can make that up through the season. They're out.
Yeah. Well,
so I think at the end of this, we're only going to see out of the rankings we see tomorrow, if it's the way I think it's going to be, Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, only 2 of them could possibly even make it, because you're still going to have the winner of that Georgia Tennessee game is going to have to play the winner of the Alabama LSU game. So that's 2 huge games they're going to have to play where Ohio State and Michigan get each other, and then, sorry Jerry, a cakewalk in the Big Ten championship game.
Well, we're just making assumptions here. Who's to say Alabama doesn't lose this weekend and really mess up the whole works here? And LSU
they could lose, and then they're out,
Georgia,
but the rest
Tennessee,
of them move in. TCU's at 7. So they jump up.
Yeah, they got 4 more. They got 5 more chances to shit the bed.
Yep, and who's to say TCU doesn't continue to play well and win convincingly, and they jump Clemson, and then they're ready. They're sitting there at 5, ready to pounce if somebody in the top 4 loses later on in the season.
I can see a scenario where the top 4 teams end up getting in because
these 4
these 4 teams end up getting in. Well, you get Tennessee knocks off Georgia. Georgia ends up going 11-1. They don't play the SEC title game. All these other teams are going to lose. Tennessee beats Bama. Ohio State loses to Michigan. Michigan knocks off Indiana or Illinois. Next thing you know, TCU's got 2 losses. Oregon and everybody in the Pac-12 can't.
There would have to be a massive amount of chaos for that to happen.
I feel like chaos is coming.
All of these teams 5 to 11 would have to lose at least once.
Right.
Most of them twice.
But to that being said, I think these 4 teams are clearly the best 4 teams in the country right now. I think
I completely agree.
Sitting on the outside
because
looking in.
Clemson can be had, Alabama can be had. We also, Georgia did Oregon. I know Oregon's better, but I still think at a neutral site, Georgia wins, maybe not by 45?
Right.
46. They won 49-3, right? It was a 42-point victory, my bad. 42-point victory. So they won 45-3. Probably win by 20, maybe. 10, 15 points, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. You do have a point, but there have to be so much chaos.
Right.
We're just talking about week 1 right now.
Right.
Week 1 of the playoffs.
But, right now, those are the 4 best teams. Michigan, and, last week they were probably the best team in the country. Now, Tennessee's the best team in the country.
I kind of feel that the playoff committee have to doing this, for quite a while now. They've learned some things. They've learned what happens when you kind of screw a team out. They learned what happens when you take a team that has not even played in their conference championship and put them in the playoff. Alabama 2017, they won the national title. Yeah. They didn't have to play a conference championship game. They didn't make it. Georgia and Auburn played. Well, they ended up beating Georgia in the national championship in overtime.
Yeah.
I don't really see them doing that again. I feel there's going to be multiple undefeateds, and there'll be a couple of one-loss conference champions that'll probably end up getting in, if no chaos happens.
Right.
But I really feel that TCU has to go undefeated and win the conference and do it convincingly because I definitely can see a scenario where an undefeated Tennessee plays a one-loss Alabama in the conference title game. Alabama wins that rematch, and Tennessee getting in, much like Georgia and Alabama last year, both two undefeated, Alabama with one loss, Georgia undefeated.
Yeah.
I can see that happening, and then TCU would get screwed. But if they continue to win by 30 points, I know they didn't yesterday, but if they continue to win convincingly, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. But we'll see.
I don't see the Pac-12 getting in at all.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got a loss on their resume. I see that conference being the most fun to watch and follow. I don't see them getting in unless you've got 3 or more teams ahead of them losing at least one more game.
So we're thinking TCU and Clemson control their own destiny. They went out, they're in.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
And then, teams like Oregon, USC, UCLA, Ole Miss, they're going to have to hope a couple teams ahead of them lose at least once more. Some of them probably going to have to lose twice.
Yeah.
Or lose at an inopportune time.
Right. All right. Well, I guess
it's getting fun. It's just getting fun.
Yeah.
But I'm still sad because it's getting close to the end.
But it's getting to the best part.
Yeah. I've got that Sunday guilt thing where you're like, you got all day Sunday to hang out, and you're like bummed because the next day is Monday. That's kind of what I'm feeling. Like, we got some of the greatest college football of the year to go, but I'm still a little sad.
Yeah. It's coming to a close quickly, but we still got games to go, and pretty much everybody's played 8 games so far. So it's 4 more games this season. For
4 more big ones for a lot of people.
4 more big ones, and conference title games after that. So that's getting interesting real fast. This is week
9.
Week 9. So we're getting ready for week 10. You guys have a good one.
That's it.